Let's tie Shane Stalcup's Sparkle Leech. We begin with a Tiemco 5263 and a size 10, and that's a 3/16" gold bead. This is the 020 lead, and I'm wrapping up to get up into the bead. Helicopter it off, and then the back end, I'm trying to stuff it into the bead a little bit. Now this is one of those things that I'm really particular about, and it's anchoring down my body, or that lead body. And what I'm going to do is create a dam first at that back end so that the lead can't move backwards. And that's just to keep the anchor, the thread in the back there. Now I'm going to take that tag in and come on a vertical line at least 3 times across that lead. And what that does is gives me support as I wrap down, as I cover the lead wraps with my thread. So I've got one. Now I'm going to put a couple more in. They're just vertical lines of thread, and what they do is let me support my thread as I cover up the lead. One more wrap. I just don't like my body moving around on me. If I'm going to tie a fly this big, they usually last pretty long, and so I like to tie it a little bit better. I'm just giving it a good foundation. Cut that tag off, and now I'll just wrap my thread and just basically coat that lead with thread. The thread I'm using is just an 8/0 black thread. I'm just coating that thread. Now I've got a pretty good base now. Now I'm going to create a dubbing loop out of this black thread. It's about 5 inches long. And you got to remember it's going to double up because I'm basically creating a furled tail. Created that loop. Now I'm going to drop some Sparkle Leech dubbing into that loop. This happens to be the olive stuff. I just take little pinches and slip it into that loop. If you can't get a hold of the Sparkle Leech dubbing, you can get a Angora, mix in a little bit of flash into it, create your own Sparkle Leech. The nice stuff about Shane's is that first off, the hairs are the right length. Also, the dubbing is really thin, fine stuff, and he's got multiple colors, and he's got a gorgeous blend. This is the olive, and I also like using the black. I'm going to twist that, and that twist is going to, when I fold it in half, it's going to twist up on itself, and that creates the tail. All right, now I'm just using that dubbing twister by I'm not quite sure who it's from. I'm just picking out the hairs before I let it fold over on itself. Stoneful, that's who that dubbing twister's from. See, I let it fold in on itself. And tie it down. And I let it go, it actually twists up itself up. And that's what I want it to do. It becomes a tail on my leech. I'm going to brush that out. Right now I'm just trying to anchoring down my other point of contact on that loop. You can already begin to see, it's almost like having an articulated fly with that furled back end. But I'm going to brush it out a bit. Now I'm going to create another loop out of that thread to wrap the rest of my body. It'll also be about the same length as the tail, so about 4 inches. I've created my loop, bring my thread up to the front. Gonna smush some, I'll wax my fingers just a little bit. Open up that loop and trap some of the more of that dubbing, that leech dubbing in between there, in between the thread. This is a fairly simple fly to tie, but it's a really effective fly. Looks great in the water. You can make that tail as long and short as you want to. You can add more dubbing or less dubbing if you like it a little more sparse, but this is how Shane showed me. Once again, I've got it in that dubbing twister. Spin my thread. I'll pick out some of that dubbing so it stands out a little more. But you can see all that variation created by all those different colors of flashabou and tinsel in there. Now all I've got to do is trap that loop in a pair of hackle pliers and wrap to the front, right behind the bead. Now, I don't like to trap too many fibers, so you'll see here I'm using my dubbing brush, ultimate dubbing brush. And I just push the fibers backwards. Just comb it back. It's funny, just before, not too long before Shane passed away, he had bought a pair of sheep cards for carding sheep's wool. And that sheep's wool he was using on other materials to create dubbing with. He was actually, the sparkle leech dubbing he was making himself and mixing it himself. Much of it consisted of Angora. Then he would add those tinsel pieces in there, the sparkly pieces in there. This is the olive. The black is really gorgeous too. Well, I pulled out the thread while I was combing it back, and so I need to trap down that tag end again and make sure it doesn't go anywhere. You see how buggy it looks. Wait till you comb it out a bit. And just combing out the hairs. Oh, pulled it out. Just nail it back down again. Add my thread. And now whip finish that head. Somebody told me, in fact, my friend Khan told me, if you whip finish 6 times, you do not need to put any kind of head cement. Now what I'm going to do is just brush it through like I tried earlier. Take it a little more easy. This thing in the water just wiggles well, and it also just gives a great profile. All that variegation in the body and the tail. I'm going to trim out a little bit of hair, but not really that much. Once again, this is my version of Shane Stalcup Sparkle Leech. This darn thing fishes. You need to tie some. Simple fly.